Ladies and gentlemen, this is only our third episode, and I'm told the show is already a hit. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And this week, we have the most famous doctor on the planet, Dr. Drew Pinsky. He not only organized my intervention with Johnny Knoxville, he was running the whole rehab where I went to get sober. I've known him for almost 20 years. He has seen me at my absolute worst, treated me as a patient, and he knows me absolutely as well as any famous person I can think of. This is such an honor, and it's actually the first full-length podcast we recorded. We did this in the van I was renting to decide if I wanted to buy a motorhome, and the experience was so overwhelmingly positive, I knew I was going to go for it. I've been saving this one because it's special, and it is so intense. I share with Dr. Drew what my most dire health concerns are, like where my body is most banged up, and man, we get into it. So really enjoy this one because it's a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Drew. Here it is, man. Everybody, Dr. Drew.
Am I first?
You are.
This is the best. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you.
It's legitimately the first try at a full-length
fantastic
deal.
Yeah, it's good.
We're not going to edit anything.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's going to be the biggest battle for me. But yeah, so we rented
Why did
this.
you get all this perfectionism going on now? Where did that get going?
I don't know.
That wasn't always the case?
Oh my God, you should have heard me when I used to be a guest on Loveline with Drew before I got sober.
I wouldn't call that perfectionism, though.
No. I'm saying that's quite the opposite.
So, yes.
Really?
Oh my God, I was a
What?
mess. I can't believe that Dr. Drew welcomed me on the Loveline with him so often when I was such an insufferable mess.
Well, we didn't know how bad things were at the beginning, right? And neither did you, really. None of us really did. Maybe you did. I didn't know. And when it became clear that this was not going well, you always said, and you were super clear about it, when it comes time for me, because I kept bugging you. I kept,
Right.
come on, man, come on, you got to do something.
Right.
Just basically, screw you. When I do this, I'll know, and I will do it for real. I'll do it all in. As good as his word.
I remember you had a program about like quitting smoking. And I told you that I would smoke cigarettes with a fake lung through a hole in my throat. Through a hole. And
he'd be the tracheostomy smoker.
Right. Oh my God.
With the voice box.
Yeah.
Do you have guests come on that it's like what drug they're on, but they're like kind of hiding it?
He's the best.
Sometimes I can be BS by the best of them, but I kind of have a hint. Well, opiates are really easy, right? It's really easy.
Rotting off.
And meth is pretty easy, but people combine stuff, and then it gets a little confusing.
What were you on when you went on there?
Which time?
I used to go out to the bathroom to do cocaine. I'd have cocaine breaks, mostly like just weed when I was doing the radio with Drew. Jesus. But yeah, okay, so we've been prepared with questions. My first one, because it's really...
Before you go to it, describe what we got going on here.
This is...
We're in a van.
We're in a van. I've rented it to see if it works.
Got cameras all over the place.
So far, it really feels like it does work.
I mean, you probably have done the most like podcasts out of anybody out there.
Corolla. He's done more, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
But I've done a lot. And I remember when this all started happening, Steve was like, God damn, who's going to ask me to do another podcast?
Right. I used to have a rule that if I haven't heard of the podcast, the answer is no. And I don't think I've ever,
But now it's fun. It's a way to socialize with people. You see people you haven't seen for a while, and it makes sure you connect with people. I mean, it's kind of a weird
It's
thing,
it's a crazy thing.
yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, you had a question.
So I mean, I've got a number of questions.
All right.
The first one I think I'm going to go with is, I know that there are like Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, and they're not really doctors.
Oz
and,
is.
Oh, he is, okay.
Oz was the head of cardiovascular surgery.
Right, but does he continue to have a medical practice?
He was operating until a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know what he's doing now. I haven't talked to him lately.
So, of celebrity doctors who maintain a practice as you do, and I think most people don't know that you do. Most people don't know that you have an office. And is there another doctor with a medical practice who's such a household name as you are?
I don't know. It's hard to judge that kind of thing. However, like, what's the guy that anchors the doctors? He's pretty well known, and he's an ER doc, so he's working regularly.
We don't know his name,
Well,
Drew. He's obviously not a
What
household
do you mean
name.
he anchors the doctors?
The talk show, The Doctors.
Right,
I know.
the people who had Aaron Carter on there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They're normally going through something when they get a face tattoo like that.
You know, it's so true. I wish like Tyson would talk about that, because I think he could talk about it pretty vividly, what he was going through when he got his face tattoo.
Was he in prison when he got it?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
What I see it as, to me, it goes in the same category as Britney Spears shaving her head. It's and you zoom past that into driving a motorcycle off the building.
Right,
Did you have an intent?
I'm now thinking about getting a face tattoo.
Why?
But just because, like, people who have face tattoos seem to be really rich.
Oh, okay. That's logical.
Yeah, well, ask him what he's
Right.
going to get.
All the
What are
rappers.
you gonna get?
Well, I was thinking about getting a dick-shaped teardrop tattoo, but now I'm thinking about having the dick kind of go over my eyebrow.
Oh man, your dad will love that. He won't be able to look at you again. He couldn't look at your hands for a long time.
I know, and
Poor man, what you put him through.
We
Ted.
were going to do that after the anesthesia bit that we were talking to you about
Oh yeah, that.
when he got
Right.
put under.
I told Dad though that it's really just for the purpose of finding out how long I can last with the dick on my face before I go rushing to go get it lasered off.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I think the forehead is good because then people can call you dickhead.
Yeah.
It's a teardrop. You lose that. You lose
Right,
that
right. Okay.
But so hold on. So we got off track here. So when I see people impulsively shave their head, like when you were super manic, did you have an impulse to shave your head or?
There was a time when I wanted to get PCP Saved My Life tattooed around my neck.
Right. So neck impulse, like do something is sort of a manic thing. I just
Why the face?
I don't know. It's just, people do things in certain states. It's just we're primates and whatever, and they get in these altered states, certain behaviors emerge. And this one, I just see it all the time as a manic thing.
Right. Okay.
Shaving the head, putting a tat on the face. It's real aggressive.
Most importantly, Scott, we've established that for our first guest, we have the most famous doctor on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You, I see. That's what you want to make claim to. Okay,
Just
for
want
you,
to.
Steve, I am.
It's a get. It's a real get. I happen to be bros with Dr. Drew.
No big deal.
Right.
big
Now, as a real true personal concern, we hear Joe Rogan talking about it a lot. He says it's a no-brainer that anybody over the age of 40 should be taking testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
TRT.
I don't disagree with him strongly, okay? I can't. I have prostate cancer. I would love to. And I bust my physician's balls all the time about it. I'm like when I went in for my operation, I'm like, first thing I want you to know is if I'm 5 years out remission, you're putting me on testosterone.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, now I've got a little problem and I probably need some radiation or whatever.
Oh,
But-
so that just broke my heart. You said I have it. It's not I had it. and
Well,
I've
I may have a
survived.
little something going on. I mean, it's mostly gone. It's mostly not a big deal. But because of that little question mark, I can't do it. But I was at a physical the other day, and that doctor I was busting his balls, going 2 years out after radiation.
Okay.
You're gonna give me that?
Yeah.
You're
So,
gonna give me
so
that?
do you have to do it for life, TRT,
Look,
once you start?
I was around when the Women's Health Initiative study came out, which condemned estrogen therapy for women. It was a flawed study for a number of reasons. And I had prior to that seen the benefits of estrogen and progesterone therapies. It was remarkable how much better people's quality of life
Help
was.
the layman here.
Women on hormone replacement.
But why? I
therapy.
know that. But why would they be taking it?
Because their ovaries shut down. At a certain
Menopause?
age. Yeah, menopause.
Okay.
And so we used to routinely put people on therapy, and I noticed that their cognition was better, their quality, their strength, everything, with bone density. They seemed, in my estimation, to have less heart disease. Then this WHI came out, this Women's Health Initiative came out and said, no, more heart disease, more strokes, more dementia, more breast cancer. Get them off. And I took them all off, and we were told you're a witch doctor if you're not following the findings of this study. We all took them off. Women miserable, horrible, and I started slipping people back on again because it was so bad.
Great.
And lo and behold, it turned out the study was deeply flawed. So I saw the benefits across my career of hormone replacement therapy. It always made sense to me. Why shouldn't men have a benefit too? Our testosterone starts falling off.
Right.
Now that I'm of a certain age, I categorically know I'd be better with it.
Now, what are the symptoms that tell you that? Fatigue?
Just the way I lift weights and stuff, and just the way I work out my joint, everything, fatigue, stamina, all that stuff. It's just not the same. And I know, and by the way, I use androgen blockade, which is testosterone blocking agents, in treating prostate cancer, and I see what happens to men when you do that. It's not pretty. They get dementias and things sometimes. I know I would.
Is that when like all your hair falls off your body?
Yeah.
Because my dad had it. And he did the treatment with the laser down in La Jolla.
The prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Then he took a hormone blocker also.
Yeah, and he said they gave him a shot.
Lupron.
And he said he was just kind of like crying on the couch and just kind of
Yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like I said, I always go to my doctors and I start pushing them. I go, look, because we were talking about whether I need radiation therapy. I said, well, here's one thing. If I need androgen blockade, I'm not taking these certain medications. I know what'll happen to me. And they're like, no, stop it. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about it.
Is there any such subject that the scientific and medical community cannot like twist and disagree? Like no matter what it is, it seems.
Yeah, particularly clinical, because biology is infinitely complex, infinitely. So to try to make sweeping absolutes about the human biology,
I got
careful.
Pretty upset with. I think I even emailed you about it with. Like the way that animal activist people like will twist all these all this science to tell you things that aren't necessarily true.
Right. It happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
Yes. There's another story. Maybe I don't think you know, Scott, where Steve, in using, had a heart problem, or we thought he had a heart problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a murmur.
Yeah. This is what happened.
You were in England.
No. Dad was in England. It was prior to sobriety. I was just.
And prior to really escalating the addiction, too, you were drinking a lot then.
I was.
Because that's what I zoned in on. I was like, dude, the drinking.
It was specifically 2006 when we were filming Jackass #2, and I had made a promise to Spike Jonze and Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine that I would not do cocaine for the whole duration of that movie. I somehow kept the promise.
You drank.
Right, I said I wouldn't do cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just knew you
blacked out.
The alcohol was up.
It's exactly like on a fountain. If you suppress one thing, they all shoot higher.
Yeah, that's exactly
right. So I was just like the worst with alcohol, and this thing,
right.
and I was just temper tantrum city, and I was just not lovely, and my family was giving me a lot of grief about it.
He was not just loved, but he wasn't lovely either.
Right, and you had told me about this executive health program at UCLA, and I said, look, Dad and sister, my whole family, I said, look. You guys, I'm going to go to this executive health thing, which
you started worrying about your health around then.
I was only worried about my family on my back. I said, I'm going to go get...
They were on your back.
Yeah.
Because I knew there's some worry coming through.
They were on my back.
I thought it was you were worried that you'd have to stop using drugs and alcohol. You didn't want to do that.
I wasn't worried in the slightest about anything, but I had pretty good confidence that my health wasn't terrible, despite all of the substance abuse. And you had told me about this program, which was so
comprehensive,
so much so that it's not even covered by health insurance because they're like, you don't even need all of this medical attention.
Right.
So I said, guys, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get this fully comprehensive physical. And if I come back healthy, then you just leave me alone, just off my back. And that's the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, this story is going to be dope, but let me tell you that as uncomfortable as I was doing this for the first time, I think that this is the best podcast we've done so far. And now I'm totally comfortable, especially because this week the show is sponsored by Mack Weldon, who makes the most comfortable, highest quality boxers, briefs, sweatpants, sweatshirts, socks, hoodies. And I'm telling you that they hook people up because they value loyalty so much. They created the Mack Weldon Blue program, which means that if you sign up for an account, which is free to do, then you never pay for shipping again. And then once you've spent $200, then all of a sudden you get free shipping plus 20% off of your orders for the next year. Now, if you go to MackWeldon.com and enter the promo code STEVO, just for nothing, you get 20% off your first order. But you'd be crazy not to join the Weldon Blue program. And I'm telling you, I don't promote stuff unless I use it and I love it. And let me show you how much I love these sweatpants as I take them off, and these boxers as I fling my garbage back and forth and then catch it in the back with a hands-free mangina tuck. That is courtesy of Mack Weldon. Thank you guys for making such fantastic stuff and making buying it such a treat online. I mean, really, it's the easiest, most fun website to go to, hassle-free, and thank you for taking such good care of us. Now, back to the show. So I went and I did come. I was so worried about an STD test. I was like, man, it's right. The doctor called me to come in to get the results. And I'm like, oh no, that's terrible news. So I come in to get the results.
This is some of the worst doctoring I've ever seen. It really was. I'm not kidding.
He called me into the office and I thought, oh my God, it's terrible news. And I walked in and I said, doctor, is my wiener okay? Like I said, is my wiener okay? And he says, he says, no, your wiener's fine, but it's your heart. And I go, oh. He goes, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. You have the heart of like an 80-year-old man. He said, you have the heart of like an 80-year-old man, and there's zero chance that you're going to live to see the age of 40 unless you stop drinking.
Oh, good. He's zeroed in on that. I thought it was a woman that told you this.
I think it was a dude. I remember it being a dude. And I was like, he said, you have no chance of seeing the age of 40 unless you stop drinking.
I don't think you told me about the alcohol thing, because I brought up the alcohol thing as I remember.
I never thought I was going to see the age of 40 anyway. And I told this guy, I said, who cares? I said, who cares? It's not my wiener. Like who cares? Who cares about my heart? But then like that night, I was a guest on Loveline with Dr. Drew.
This dude started talking to him about this. Look, it was based on an echocardiogram, which is not the way to assess accurately this issue. He should have said, we need you to do some more studies to see if this is real, before he starts talking to him.
He told me I had cardiomyopathy.
And that he needed a transplant.
No, he didn't say transplant. He said I needed to stop drinking. He said I had a large heart.
You were talking to me about transplant. Maybe you
I don't
looked it up
remember
or something.
I don't remember transplant.
Because that disturbed the hell out of me.
I don't remember any talk about a transplant. I just remember that.
I was like, you're jumping all the way to transplant? I mean, my God.
The heart of an 80-year-old man, you need a transplant.
I'm pretty sure the transplant was not part of the discussion.
With the stop drinking, I completely understood.
He said I had to stop drinking.
How much were you drinking a day at this point?
I mean, enough to get drunk.
Right.
In the fifth range.
Right? Like, I mean, I was drinking. Okay?
Beer or vodka?
I would drink like vodka Red Bull.
It was hard.
All day. Oh, you were doing vodka Red Bulls all day.
I mean, pretty much. I don't know. But, so I went on Loveline with Dr. Drew, I think that night.
Yes, it was that night.
That night. And I was like, dude, it was like the doctor told me I'm dying, man. Like, I'm dying. And Dr. Drew was just totally just aghast at all these callers who had...
Yes, the callers were like, literally every caller was like, hey, Steve, I'm sorry about your heart. Anyway, about my wiener. Every call. Right. And I was like, do you want to spend a couple more seconds on Steve having a fatal
People
illness?
don't care, man.
And it made me realize, I think we talked about this, that they were treating him like a cartoon character. They didn't see him as a person. They thought of him as a cartoon character.
I think there was a lot of like, oh, dude, you'll be fine, man. You're gnarly. Like,
there was that.
Yeah,
but anyway, sorry, you're struggling. Anyway,
well, it's like that video. It's like that video that he did where he was bleeding out of his boxer shorts, and
I poured fake blood in my boxer shorts, and then I went and people were asking me for a picture.
You didn't send me
he's like, oh, look at this, and people are like, oh, it sucks. Can I get a selfie?
Yes, exactly the same thing. It was the first time I'd experienced anything like that. It was deeply troubling to me. I gotta tell you.
Yeah,
and you took it in good stride.
Yeah, it was a bit, but I think after talking with you that night, the whole thing had kind of sunk in. I was like, man, I gotta stop drinking.
Well, I still had doubts that it was real. I thought to myself, this is what I was thinking. I thought he drinks enough to get a little cardiomyopathy. It can reverse. The alcohol myopathy can reverse. He needs to stop drinking. Let's let him get that. Let that sink in. We'll let that sink in. And let's stop talking about this being an end of life thing because I really didn't believe it. I did
Right.
not believe it was possible.
Right.
What organs?
So I went to the airport like maybe the next day or something, and I was just like, I got to stop drinking. So my best thinking was the first time I'd ever bought a first class ticket in my life. I just showed up at the airport and I said, please get me a first class seat on the next flight to England so I could go eat pickled onion Monster Munch. Because if I couldn't have alcohol, I was going to eat this absurd baked corn snack that you
That's
can
why
only
you
get
went
in
to
England.
London?
That's why I went to London. And
Did you want to be with your family? You didn't think maybe?
You wanted the chip.
I just wanted to eat pickled onion Monster
my
Munch. And yeah, I mean, like I was a wacky dude at the time.
That's crazy.
And
What do you want about other organs?
I was gonna say, what organs from like drug use or like drinking or smoking can repair themselves and cannot repair themselves after you quit?
It's pretty complicated. I mean, it depends. You'd have to go through
The heart?
We'd have to go through every drug and every organ.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah.
right, okay. Let me ask a more basic question. I remember being told that 95% of alcoholics/addicts will die loaded of causes related directly to drugs and alcohol. Is that accurate?
If they're not treated, yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay.
A real true addict, yeah.
And how do they know these stats though?
Because the cause of death, alcoholic liver disease, cardiomyopathy, stroke if you're doing cocaine, kidney disease. I mean, it's just boom.
Yeah.
Man.
And by the way, the coroners screwed up all the time. It actually really pisses me off. They don't understand addiction. The coroners, they really don't. And so they'll go, oh, she just, I don't know. She just, she acts. I argued with Yamaguchi. Do you know the guy that did he did everybody. He did Marilyn Monroe and Natalie Wood and John Belushi. He had the temerity to go, John Belushi wasn't a drug addict. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, just someone would give him just that night happened to give him something. He wasn't an addict. I'm like, what the you? So he signed him off as like not related to drug addiction.
Was that the final cause of death for John Belushi?
It was speedballs, which are ever since called Belushis.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't understand. I've seen this again and again and again.
Still to this day, it happens.
Where the pathologists, because they're not clinicians, they're pathologists. They get off the clinical track very early, and they just don't understand what they're looking at here.
Okay. So I need to get on testosterone replacement therapy.
Well, I didn't say that.
approve.
I just said I'm in the Joe Rogan
Camp.
enthusiasm for it, but it needs to be done very carefully. Mike Catherwood, my Loveline partner, he's very involved with some guy in Venice that apparently is an endocrinologist and does this stuff. So you should go see somebody who really can do it carefully if you decide to do this.
And once you start, assuming that you do start, then you can never stop.
Well, you can stop, but you're going to lose all the effects. It's something that only has the benefits when you're taking it.
Do people's heads get bigger when they do TR?
Yes.
Is that like Mark McGuire or Barry Bonds? Like
that was extra physiologic. So ideally, you want to just restore testosterone to boost it a little bit to a level closer to your youthful time, and not give you high levels of. And they did androgenic and anabolic, and they did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
That makes enlarges your parotid glands and stuff. Yeah.
So TRT, is that steroids?
It's a steroid. I mean, TRT is testosterone replacement therapy, right? TRT, and the backbone of testosterone is a steroid molecule. So yeah,
so
it's an androgenic steroid.
1 cc a week is pretty good.
This is something you got to talk about.
Is The Rock on steroids?
Oh, he's on something. Of course. I mean, if somebody looks abnormally good and they're over 40, as Joe, I'm sure. Ask Joe. I'm sure he sees it everywhere.
Yeah,
he can tell when people are doing it.
Right, I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's become kind of.
Mike Catherwood, God damn him, because he knows I can't take testosterone. He started going, "Oh, go take androgens. Just take anabolic steroids." I'm like,
His physique is something else these days.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
He's gorgeous too. So I saw on TMZ that you were singing opera like at a hockey game.
Singing the national anthem.
As an opera singer.
Well, that's how I sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's become kind of common knowledge that you sing opera.
Well, not that common, because then I did the Masked Singer and nobody got it until I had to pull the head off.
Okay. Do people ask you to sing a lot?
I know where he's going. I need a piano to be able to sing.
All right. I was going to ask if it's annoying when people ask you.
It
all the
is
time.
annoying. If
Okay,
somebody
there
were
we
to
go.
say to
Enough
me,
said.
"Hey, well, I'll tell you what, we want you to sing on our show, and we've got an accompanist set up for you. We want to rehearse 5 minutes before you go out there." I was like, "All right, I'll do that."
Do you love it?
Do I like singing? No, not anymore. So when I did The Masked Singer, I started really training again, and I've lost a whole range of stuff I used to have. So I kind of pisses me off, actually. I do like singing, but I had a pretty powerful voice at one time, and if I were on testosterone, that would all come back probably.
Wow.
You
How
should do it,
about
dude.
that? So,
And I had all kinds of problems. And I had to have a laryngoscopy and stuff. They had to look at my cords. I had hemorrhage on my cord. I had a varice on my cord because I could tell something was mechanically wrong. Because when I started training for real, I was like, it's just the whole range was just gone. So I had to have vocal rehab and corticosteroids and things.
How long ago was that?
July.
Oh, recently.
Yeah.
man,
The Masked Singer, you know the show?
I'm not familiar with The Masked Singer.
Yeah. A lot of your I promise you, people are. It's a ridiculous
Okay.
show. Yeah, it's like Dancing with the Stars. It's kind of
Okay.
sad show.
So it's like unlikely singing talent from people.
Yeah, well, but then yes, that's sort of one of the conceits. The other is real singers. Like I got beat up by Patti LaBelle,
Okay.
dressed as a giant flower.
How old is Patti LaBelle?
She's older, but she still sang pretty well.
Okay. Okay, I've got a couple of serious questions here. Like we're men in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about the CBD shit. Like if it's like a
Yeah. Topical CBD, fine.
right. Okay.
I've done like a roll thing on my neck or something.
Yeah, fine. Low dose should be fine. I worry about the higher dose tinctures. I worry about that.
What's tinctures?
The little drops under your tongue.
Oh yeah, I don't want to put anything in my mouth. I had this one guy telling me, "Oh, here's this. Take a picture with this CBD water that I have," and I was like, "Nah, man, I just am weirded out by that." He's like, "Man, it's not psychoactive," and I was like, "Dude, I just don't."
My wife and I tried it. We took probably about 50 milligrams, something like that, a relatively small dose.
Ate everything in the pantry. Had the best sex in years.
No, nothing like that. She had panic attacks. She got panic attacks the next day
From it.
So she had a reaction, and my sleep was all messed up. It did not help.
He gave something to his mom.
Oh, my mom had something with her knee,
Yeah.
and I thought it was just like a CBD, no THC.
Yeah.
I think I gave her the wrong one because it worked, like that her knee pain went away. But I said, "How'd you feel?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know, honey." Like she never smoked pot or anything like that. She's like, "I don't know, honey. Like I woke up and I was just really hungry." And she took a picture of all the snacks she was eating.
Oh boy.
Just candy bars, chips, Diet Cokes, just
God.
like, and she never eats like that. And I was
That's
like,
so
"Oh,
funny.
I just dosed my mom."
Maybe, but I use it. I recommend it to people fairly frequently. I mean, it's.
I mean, like, it's an important question for me because I feel like not as a result of injuries, not as a result of anything, but I just feel like in my elbow, my shoulder, like it's how I imagine carpal tunnel. Just I feel it breaking out in my.
As we get older, you just get lots of aches. Your joints just start to hurt.
And I remember because the three of us, we went to South Africa. And I was just lifting up my carry-on bag to put it in the overhead bin. And all of a sudden, my arm went,
Yeah.
and like ever since then, I cannot properly make a Popeye muscle.
Oh, did you tear your...
I don't know.
You probably tore your bicep tendon.
And can you can you feel...
But here's the thing: we never stretch, and so I think stretching is a big
different
part
deal.
of that.
It is, but
Like,
that's a synovial
okay,
cyst.
here,
That's
can you feel
that's
that?
That's a synovial cyst, yeah.
That's not supposed to be there.
It's a synovial cyst. Here, feel here. They're really common.
Okay, because I don't have it there.
I know. It's a synovial cyst on your other... Yeah.
It
comes off the wrist very commonly.
I had the funniest thing happen. This, because more than
Let's see
anybody...
The tendon, the bicep tendon. Usually it's the short head of
Yeah,
the
here,
bicep.
it's crazy. Like,
I
it's
think
mushy.
you-
Like I can't even.
Yeah, I think you tore part of the tendon. It's all right.
TRT.
But TRT will bring it back.
Shoulders go, too.
I know the shoulders are going too.
I'm not sure you listeners want to hear all this.
Hey, sorry to hear about your body breaking down, dude. But let me get a selfie.
Speaking of old dudes, you watched The Irishman?
Yeah.
I've been chipping away at it. Not all the way through it.
3.5 hours.
Yeah. It's I'm watching like small chunks at a time,
What do
but
you
I'm
think about
enjoying
it?
it.
Visually, I dig it. I can't. It's hard for me to watch those guys. They either look too old or not. They look too old most of the time. Like,
But isn't it like CGI? They made Robert De Niro look way younger.
yeah, but when he goes out and tries to beat up that cop,
I haven't gotten that
no,
far
the
yet, so-
shopkeeper,
Yeah.
when his daughter pushed.
Oh, right.
He couldn't
Yeah.
lift his leg up
He
to
was,
kick
like,
the guy.
kicking
He
him.
almost
I do
fell
remember.
over. He's like,
I-
having trouble balancing on
Yeah.
my
I
leg.
did
I'm like,
see
"Dad,
that.
you CGI his head on a body. Don't do that to him."
Right.
I was like screaming out
They
loud.
kept like pulling away, so
Yes.
you couldn't. Yeah.
I
He
did
was like,
see
"No,
that.
that's a 75-year-old trying to kick a guy. He's supposed to be 29." It's like, stop it.
He was supposed to be 29
Or
there.
30 or something. Yeah, that's the point. And then when he's in the nursing home, why is he in a nursing home? He looks way too. At the end, they're gonna go. He's just gonna walk out.
right.
He's visiting somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
when I saw him start on him as a young guy, I thought he was like in his late 50s. I was like, oh, this hitman
Well,
got started later.
they're covering from like the 60s all the way to like present day, right?
He's in a 30s car in the original when he goes
Alright.
to blow up the.
Yeah.
It's the 30s.
But with all my joints starting to
Get back
break
to you.
down,
Yes,
with
yes,
that
yes.
like TRT will help and CBD topical.
Yeah.
Topical would be fine. I just have a problem because
I'm weird about all CBD because it didn't used to be legal, and then now it's like they're changing laws.
And as I'm telling you, both my wife and I had some brain effect. I mean, we didn't get high from it or anything, but we were like affected by it a little bit. So it's not zero. It's not zero. And by the way, people always go, it's not psychoactive, but it'll help you with your anxiety. That
Right,
defines
exactly.
psychoactive. That's what psychoactive means.
Yeah.
So
And what's up with these like people smoking huge joints that don't get you high?
of CBD.
No, of
And,
hemp.
like,
They're
yeah.
smoking hemp, and it's like 0.01 THC, so it's like pretty non-existent.
Like, what's the point?
And they're like, oh, it just mellows you out. It's like you're smoking a cigar. I'm like, I used to love smoking weed. Like,
I get upset when I
throw me
smell it.
off.
Yeah.
I couldn't-
You'd have to smoke so much of it. You'd be-
Because then, but then I'd be like, oh my god, is this a relapse? And then I'd already start that thinking.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
No,
Where
no,
I'd
no.
say
You should
like,
definitely
Yeah.
do it.
oh well, I already relapsed. I might as well just smoke weed.
Yeah. No. Don't do it. Definitely don't go down the hemp track.
Okay, now speaking of relapse, for people in recovery, is it true that the jobs with the highest rate of relapse are specifically jobs where people work in recovery?
I don't know that data, but that would not surprise me. That would not surprise me. I had a lot of people go out in
Right,
in
I'm
my team
terrified
and
of it.
And I would tell every time so over the long period that I was working in the field, I came to the point where I was insistent that if you're working here, you are going to Al-Anon. That's it. Because the ones that didn't go to Al-Anon would get taken out pretty fast. They, in pernicious ways, they'd have sex with patients. They'd use with just horrible ways. And it's just like it gets, the disease gets under your skin, right? And when
Right.
somebody with it is you're around so much of it, it'll get to you.
Okay, so here's something that I personally feel pretty strongly about with regards to anonymity for people in recovery. I think that if we look at the origins of 12-step programs, the reason for anonymity was that there were so few people that started it. If they were to put their full names out there, they would just be swamped. They could never handle it and conduct normal lives.
And there's a lot of shame associated with it.
Right.
And yes.
So
and some of the prohibitions on media was actually Bill W.'s wife. It was
Right.
her. The 11th tradition was her idea, and she I think she's gone now.
Lois.
Reconsidered that. She thought no, it's important now that we get out in the media and talk about this.
Really, you think? Because
That's what she said. That's Bob Forrest looked into it. You interview him.
Well,
he looked into it at length.
in my view anyway, it was like they said that in the book. There's just too few of us. We got to keep ourselves anonymous because we can't help everybody. And then now in this day and age, that's clearly not the case. The recovery world is thriving. It's alive and well. And now I think the most common idea about why anonymity is important, people say, well, if you wave the flag of sobriety in the 12-step program and then you end up loaded, people are going to see that and they're going to think, oh, well, AA doesn't work.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
AA and 12-step has been under attack for a while too.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I equate that to somebody getting in really great physical shape, shirt off, looking like Mike Catherwood, just shredded and and then a year, and they give all the credit to, say, 24-hour fitness. Oh, it's the greatest. Then a year later, they're fat slobs. Absolutely nobody is going to start thinking 24-hour fitness doesn't work.
Did that.
Right. They're going to be like, okay, so you stopped going to 24-hour fitness.
That's exactly how they should think of it, but they love to attack. If you're not sober for eternity, it's 12 steps problem. All right, whatever. Well,
I think that what's important about anonymity is that when people professionalize their sobriety,
correct,
then inherently their motivation is skewed.
Correct. I think the 11th tradition and the anonymity is an attempt to make sure it doesn't become something commoditized, something branded, something of any market forces on it at all, no business. And so there was a very wise move to let it be just an interpersonal experience,
sure,
nothing more, and to keep it quiet. To me, is a way of first of all, protecting people that want to be that way. So good, and then B, making sure people aren't out
seeking power, property, and prestige.
Promotion, promotion would be a bad thing for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me see. We might need a little bit of a. Okay, I know this is important to you. Talk to us about the what we do about the homeless situation.
Oh, I'm going crazy on that.
Bubonic plague.
Oh my God. Let me first talk about the 12-step thing real quick. There is a guy named John Kelly that runs the Harvard addiction program, and a guy named Heath Humphreys that runs Stanford are doing studies that showing that 12-step is as good or better than any other treatment that's professionalized out there, especially if abstinence is your goal. This is as good or better than anything else out there. And by the way, it's free. It's available 24/7. It's on every corner. Oh, by the way, you're worried about health expanse? It's free. It works. Stop attacking it. It needs to be part of everything we talk about when we're talking about the opiate crisis and all these other problems. We should be in the next message going, there's free services out there that works. It's evidence-based. Take advantage of it.
Sure. I mean, the way I look at it is that, let's say 95% of alcoholics and addicts do die loaded of causes related to drugs and alcohol. It's no mystery that the 5% who do achieve long-term sobriety are locked arms that we do it together. That's what the whole thing is about.
I don't think it's as low as 5%. That 95% number, I think, is if you continue using, you'll die of consequences of your disease. If you make repeated attempts at sobriety, there's a very good probability, like in the 50-60% zone, that you're going to have sobriety.
Okay, but if you have meaningful sobriety under your belt, you're like 5 years of sobriety, and then 10, and then you relapse, then it's so hard to get it back.
Oh yeah,
you're like the fighter that got knocked out, and now you got a glass jaw.
Have you seen that?
All the time.
All the time. I'm terrified.
It's a really hard group to treat, and they know too much.
Yeah.
And so the disease takes advantage of that.
And they're always so focused on the number of years, instead of just like one day at a time.
Because they're ashamed. They're ashamed. But the other part is they need, by the time they often hide it for a long time, right? And so by the time they come clean, you need some serious treatment again. You got to start over. And they're like, oh, no, I know, my home meeting, blah, blah. It's like, no, we got to start over. We need real treatment, sustained structure. Here we go. And it's a hard group to treat.
I always ask them, and I know it's probably the last thing they want to talk about, but like, what happened? Because like, I want to make sure that never happens to me.
So you asked about jobs that cause relapses.
Yeah.
Relationships cause relapses.
Yeah. Not working with newcomers, or not, stop going to meetings.
Just drifting off, not putting your priorities in place.
Yeah.
It's just a drift. It's like anything else.
We call it
slowly happens.
We call it working the steps in reverse.
Yeah, it is what happens.
First you stop helping others.
Yeah.
Then you stop.
Yeah. Stop praying for your your qualities to be removed by God. And then a relationship nothing takes addicts out more than relationships. And by the way, some of the times because you found somebody in the community and whatever.
Right.
That's not good. Not good.
Green or pink is what takes people out a lot.
Anyway, so the homeless thing is driving me out of my mind because these are I when I sort of started waking up to it, I'm like, what do you mean these people need a place to stay? They're all mentally ill. I was like, wait a minute. And I started looking at what's going on there. And it's people I've been serving for the last 30 years. It's drug addicts, and it's chronically mentally ill. That's it. That's who's out there. And these people can be helped, as you know. Drug addicts, it's a dicier, as we all know how dicey that prospect is. But at least we can put forces in place that push them in the right direction, as opposed to allow them to just continue using until they die, which is what's happening now. 3 a day are dying on our streets. 3 a day.
Okay.
Some dude was eaten by a coyote. So in Griffith Park. Fucking saber-tooth tiger tore somebody apart. This is the town we live in. Griffith Park.
Are these
dude
stats
was torn to pieces?
Are these stats accurate? We have 190,000 homeless people living in LA.
I think that's too much.
We're second to Calcutta.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, Calcutta takes care of their sick people. So they no other country doesn't take care of sick people. We're allowing sick people to die on our streets.
So is it true that any homeless person can go dial 611 and get picked up right away?
Yep. They don't want to come in.
They don't want to come in. No. I know. And that's
You've been
the
talking
issue.
to them? They'll
yeah. I did a campaign where I went around and handed out towels, and they had numbers that they called. They're like, yeah, we know. We don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's
they're either I want to keep using, or I'm chronically mentally ill, and that's not comfortable for me.
They have to be sober in order to get into some of these places, and they won't come. What came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
So here's
the
what
drug
happened.
use or the mental illness?
So here's what happened. It's fundamentally the big problem here is the mental illness. We changed our drug laws in this state. That's why they all came here, right?
Yeah.
That's what created the drug thing. And then the opiate crisis. So this is the last chapter of the opiate thing. So we've gone from pharmaceutical, oral medicine to heroin. And when you use enough heroin, you go to the streets. That's what happens with heroin, right? Everyone does heroin, ends up on the streets. And then we changed the drug laws and said, yeah, you can not just do heroin. We're not going to hassle you. You can traffic in heroin, and you can steal $900 a day to support your habit. You aware of that? They made that a non-crime. You can do whatever you want.
Oh,
so it's on.
You won't get in trouble if you less than 900.
They go to a Target now. Watch what happens. Watch the guys walk in there, stuff their coats with stuff, and walk out. Just watch it. It's every day. So and the owners don't call anymore because the cops don't do anything. So it's crazy.
Rough.
It's really crazy. So that's the drug part. The other part is, in this country, we used to have a very elaborate state hospital system for people that need custodial care. Humans get chronic mental illness that need constant care. That's unfortunately the way human brains work. There are certain illnesses that are very serious, neurological, psychiatric illnesses, that you have to take care of in a structured environment. We did that in every state. The federal government, the Constitution, does not provide for any of that, so it was left to the states. Well, all of a sudden in the 1940s, really, this guy named Robert Felix, a psychiatrist, came in, and he started looking at the military, and he discovered that something like 30% of the recruits could not qualify for going overseas to World War II because of neurological, cognitive, and mental illness. So we thought, we got a big problem here. So he was not a well-trained psychiatrist, he was a trained psychiatrist, but a politician and a mover. He decided he knew how to social engineer humanity. He was going to solve all the world's problems. He saw in John Kennedy the guy that could help him do that. He set up this new institution that became the National Institute of Mental Health. He was given wide-ranging powers, one amongst which he got the ear of John Kennedy and pushed through something called the Community Mental Health Act, which was designed to shut down the state hospitals and have all mental health delivered in community mental health centers that were going to prevent mental illness, something we don't know how to do to this day.
Yeah.
And they were, he and the guy named Yoles that followed him and a guy that Brown that followed that, 3 guys for 30 years controlled the National Institute of Mental Health, controlled the federal government's mental health policy. None of them had ever set foot in a hospital that took care of chronically mentally ill. And they believed, in the age of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that they believed that hospitals were causing mental illness. Therefore, they all had to be choked off and closed. So hundreds of thousands of people were coming out of these state hospitals with no provisions being made for where they would go or how they would be treated. None. They went to the prisons, the nursing homes, and the streets. And we've done nothing to reverse that except put a bunch of laws in place that make it even more difficult to get to and help these people. So that's what's going on.
And now, because they're, because they have bad hygiene, because of the whole...
They're dying.
And
it's bad.
I know, but I heard you talk as well about how we're seeing for the first time since medieval times.
Oh, this is all medieval. So when you let sanitation break down, Well, I want to know where the environmentalists, all this shitting and peeing in the street goes right into the LA River, bypasses the sewage treatment plant. 60,000 people's shit is going into the LA River when it rains like this. Bypasses sewage treatment. It's like this city's sewage going into the ocean. You don't think that's... We've had mammalian die-off, sea lions. Yeah, we have sea lions and dolphins dying off. We're worried about a straw in a fucking turtle's nose. We should be worried about the sea mammals here.
It's bad.
It's bad. Okay, so we've got that going on. I'm sorry.
It's like the bubonic plague.
So rats have overgrown. So because they've done nothing with the sanitation, these poor people living in our streets, rats have just gone. They just exploded. Our house here, we were summer before last, we were overrun. Like, it was unbelievable. And when that happened, I thought, oh, we're gonna have typhus, because I've practiced in this area for a long time and I've treated typhus many times. And when you see something like that, like the rodent population explodes, I thought, typhus, here it comes. 3 months later, typhus. And we had a massive outbreak of typhus, and we still have it going. It's going to slow down in the winter here. But then I started investigating, well, what's endemic in this area that follows typhus? Well, the last Yersinia outbreak in the world was in Los Angeles when the rat population overgrew.
Yersinia?
Yersinia? Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't know what that?
Yersinia
I'm sorry. Yersinia. It's called Yersinia. Yersin. You know it more. It's a common name. Bubonic plague.
Holy shit.
So I'm like, well, that's coming. That's coming.
What are the symptoms of bubonic plague? How do you know if you have bubonic
plague?
Fever,
buboes, these swollen glands, cough, pneumonia. You're sick.
Oh.
You guys both gonna think you have it now?
Yeah.
See what's gonna.
Steve just surfed in the LA River.
Oh, dude.
But
Dude. It's salmonella and cholera and stuff like that you're gonna get.
yeah, but I got away with it.
Yeah, you're fine.
So how do you stop all this? I mean, I know it's a big question.
Very simple. Very simple. You reverse Prop 47 and you start having drug courts again and start pushing people into treatment. And that's going to work some of the time. You got to motivate addicts into treatment.
What's Prop 47?
It's the 47, 57 are the ones that made it legal to steal and make it legal to do drugs. It's legal. Boom. That's one thing.
Switzerland legalized heroin.
Portugal legalized everything.
And it's doing wonders for their country.
Yeah. We could legalize everything, but you got to take care of people that are sick. You can't. They take care of people, or they give them administered heroin. They're treated like,
and they have to go into therapy once they get it.
Yes,
and they're like, people's lives get better.
They're treated. They're treated. You don't just send them out to die on the street, make things legal, and send them out to die on the street. That nobody does that.
Right.
No country does that. It's inhuman. It's bizarre too. To think that humans don't get mental illness, they don't get drug addiction. So. Oh, you guys, I'm getting all upset about this. So there's this. You introduced this
legalized contingent upon
been
therapy.
Here 3 years, and she's a sociologist. She studied it for the 3 years. She goes, oh, I see exactly what's going on. And she nailed everything. She knows exactly what's going on here. Where was it?
Legalized drug use contingent upon therapy.
Yeah. So 47 needs to be revised, right? So we need to start getting people into some kind of treatment, some kind of something. The Lanchman-Petrus Short Act, which was in 1973, I think, overnight, we took the criteria for treatment of mental illness from need for care, person needs care, Steve-O needed care, we give him care, to harm to self or other. That's it. This gigantic leap. There's a giant zone in between, unable to care for medical needs, unable to care for unable to care for sanitation. All these other things, we have to be able to bring people into treatment if they're unable to manage their lives, because they will die. They will die. So change Lanchman-Petrus, modify 47, increase access to conservatorships, there's some pilot programs starting in California finally, and then once you have that in place, enforce vagrancy laws, and that's it. It's over. It ends immediately.
Well, so when are you going to run for governor?
And build more psychiatric beds. People have been trying to get me to do that.
Dude,
yeah.
Mayor and governor, they keep talking to me about
run
it.
on that alone.
I know, because people need that solved. I just don't want to. I don't really want it. But I wake up every day as a doctor. It just gets into my fiber. I can't live with it. This is I have passion for this group. I worked 30 years in a psychiatric hospital. That place you saw, we had chronic beds, we had acute beds. I saw the chronic mental illness. I got very good at treating chronic mental illness because we had tons of them. And I saw what could be done for them. And I know how you do that.
Right.
And I'm looking at this happening, and it's no other country on earth that allows this.
That's your speech
crazy.
for governor right there. Okay, why are they allowed to start setting up tents? I never, like 5 years ago, I never saw them have tents on the street. Now they do.
Somebody's giving them tents, and then the vagrancy laws, suddenly the cops weren't able to enforce it. And then the ACLU had a couple of decisions where they literally couldn't touch anything to relate it to the, including like schizophrenics will start hoarding their shit and pee, right?
Yeah.
That's my belonging. You can't touch that.
Yeah.
Wow. And so when there's a tent just set up smack dab in the middle of the sidewalk where you can't even walk down the sidewalk, not only are they allowed to do that, but you need a warrant to enter because that's their home.
That's their place. I know. They get all pissed off.
And then you've got these crazy, I mean, it is in the last 5 years, tent cities, just Hollywood turned into...
Everywhere. And this is not... If they also then... I don't know, dealt with the sanitation and they're doing nothing.
I remember being on Skid Row back in 2005.
Yeah.
And I was drinking at a friend's house on 7th and Spring.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and watch from the building. The cops would come around and get on the loudspeaker. You guys have 5 minutes to move. They come back in 5 minutes and just hose everything down.
Yeah.
And they just did that further. And it's now a nice area, but they just kept doing it and doing it every week, different blocks.
How is that good for these people who live on the street? How is any of this okay?
None of it's good.
None of it is good for them. Who in their... And I've started taking the position that when people go, oh, this is just our unhoused neighbors, I immediately just go, I'm sorry, what's your experience in treating mental illness? Oh, none? Shut up.
They
Shut
say
up.
non-house neighbors?
Unhoused
neighbors.
And I just say, shut up. Shut up. You should not be talking. If you do not know what mental illness is and how to treat it, shut the fuck up. And if they keep going, go, you're a murderer. You're going to 3 a day are dying because of you. You are a murderer. That's what I started saying to people. I'm sick of it. I'm just
Now,
sick of
you
it.
said that part of the solution was to enforce vagrancy laws. What does that
once
mean?
you got everything in place, then start pushing people off the streets into treatment.
But murderer.
Well, then you prevent them from dying. Then you prevent it. And then you get the vocational rehab and let them go to work.
Aren't the facilities full? Or do we always have room?
We always have room. We have lots of room. We don't have enough room, though. We do need more, that's for sure.
So
I have a feeling the feds are coming. I've been talking to them. I talked to Ben Carson, and it was really, really so cool to talk to him because it was like almost like a handoff after being on call. You know, when you come off call, you describe the cases you're handing off, and I described to him what was going on. He was like, "Yep, got it." He's a neurosurgeon. He was like, "Okay, I know, I get it."
So when you say the feds are coming in, you're talking about like prison camp kind of stuff?
No, why do you go there?
Well, I don't know.
Martial law.
I think what you would see is pop-up tents for triage to get everybody stabilized and find out what's going on there. And then the federal government has a bunch of buildings that they can put for chronic psychiatric beds and get people stabilized and really get this going. They're going to have to really have an operation if they're going to pull the trigger on that.
Now I get it.
I used to do like EMT work, right? So you ask them, you know, the 3 or 4 questions, ANO times 4. If you go up to somebody, like if they can't answer those questions, then they're not allowed to deny care, right?
Right.
So if you went up to a mental illness guy on the street and you asked them the 3 or 4 questions and they can't answer
You'd be amazed how they can get it together.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed. Mental illness, you know, it affects cognition, but it's not a cognitive disorder. So their cognition can be, they can solve algebra quick. You know, they can do calculus and still be saying I'm Napoleon.
Because I always thought, why can't you just go up to them, ask them the 3 or 4 questions?
Yeah.
Oh,
what
okay,
are the 3 or 4 questions?
What's your name?
What day is it?
What day is it? What time?
Who's the president?
Yeah.
They can all do that.
And that tells what different parts of your brain are working depending on what answers?
No, not really. It just tells whether there's a diffuse cognitive dysfunction. If you're disoriented, time, place, person, and, you know, date, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Something globally is wrong.
Do you want to announce your run for governor on our first podcast here?
I'm running for, if somebody wants to talk to me about running for governor, I'll talk to them.
Wow.
You heard it here first on the Steve-O podcast.
Wow.
I just don't want to do mayor. I just have no interest in that. People have been trying to get me to do that. I'm like,
Man.
well, my dog's coming in. Rex, come here. Come on.
Come on, buddy.
Come on.
But if you can solve that problem, that's the problem for Los Angeles right now.
That's the problem of our time.
That's
but you need state law change. I mean,
and you know everything about it.
And I am working with some state senators to try to get this done. I don't have to be. Yeah, I don't have to be in a position of authority to work on this. You know what I mean? I'm still working on it, such as it is.
That's great.
I have to. I can't not. It's weird. I get up every day thinking, there's dying in the streets of the city. We're gonna play.
What bothers you the most out of like drive? Like, where do you drive? And like, oh my god, it just drives me nuts.
I drive wherever I go. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And I just know what it is. I see people go. Oh, they seem fine to me. They're just what they want to do. No. You don't understand. You don't understand what this is.
Scott showed me this magazine yesterday, and there was a big article. It said Malibu's RV problem.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit. They're subset problems. There are people that have just
from the fires.
No, there are people that just want to live at the beach.
Yeah,
and they don't want to pay for property. They just oh, you can live, set up a tent. All right, I'm living at the beach.
And there's 1 mile where you're allowed to just park your RV the whole time.
And though most of those people are not homeless, they're sort of squatters. They just want to live by the beach.
And they're not dumping their waste properly.
Right into the sewer, right into the city, right into the river, right into.
Is pee bad?
Is pee bad?
I understood that it's like loaded with ammonia, which makes it like sterile and antiseptic.
Pee is generally sterile unless you have some sort of like virus or infection or something. If you had measles, probably that would not be such a good thing.
Have you been sick lately?
Well, no, I just want to.
You guys probably vaccinated? Measles?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I got revaccinated, man.
How often should we be getting checked out by the doctor, like just for blood work?
He's 36?
Yeah. Once a year?
Not even.
Once in 6 months?
No, less.
Really?
Yeah. You shouldn't be. Well, did you do any damage with drugs?
No, I'm just a hypochondriac.
Yeah, then don't go too often. Like, every year max. That's it. Unless you're hypertensive or something else that you need ongoing management for.
No.
Just stay away. If you come into the medical system too often, we will hurt you. I'm
like, oh, my side hurts. Oh my god, I have pancreatic cancer. And then I won't be able to sleep for like weeks.
Well, if you need reassurance, then go in when you need reassurance.
But I would need reassurance every day. It's just something. It's just compulsive.
Marry a doctor or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Scott used to be a lifeguard.
Where?
Laguna Beach.
Me too.
Really?
Victoria Cove.
Yeah.
Where did you guard?
From the Montage where it is now.
Well, that's
Irvine.
So the seawall in front of that whole cove on the south side of Victoria.
That's Lagunitas in Victoria.
Well, Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Isn't that something? That's still one of the greatest beaches ever, and it got
nobody really knows about it. Well, now they do, but
intense swells there. And I when I think about it now, I'm like, how did I do that? I was so confident in the water, I could handle anything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I pull people out every day.
Every day.
In that,
a lot of C-spine. A lot of broken necks.
No, did not have any major injuries.
We
had a resuscitation one year, but I didn't have any major injuries.
When people get caught in a shore break and they get dumped on their head,
just scorpion over.
Oh, it's common.
I've had I would do like 10 a year.
10 C-spines.
Yeah.
Wow.
One guy was really serious.
Where?
All up and down.
Because that's
from Crescent Bay
boards and stuff.
Because you know how it's shore breaks,
yeah.
And so they let it break over them, and then they just scorpion.
I see.
They go over the falls onto the ground.
Yeah, we had a Japanese pole vaulter from the Olympics.
Oh my god!
It was like, oh my god, I love the beach. Run head first, dive, broke his C2 or whatever it was, and needed to be on breathing or for the rest of his life, and he died from pneumonia.
Oh Jesus, that's awful.
And it happens all the time.
So you were a lifeguard and you surfed hardcore.
No, I didn't surf hardcore. I was sort of everything else in the water but surfing.
I remember you telling me that you did surf and that you would get barreled
with boards, belly boards and knee boards and body surfing and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Did you grow up in Laguna?
I remember
I was always down there. I just loved it down there.
It's the best place in California, I think.
It's the best place. It's the best ever.
Yeah.
So my uncle had a place in Treasure Island,
yeah,
which is where the Montage is
right
now. Yeah.
Weren't they like trailer
park? Yeah, it was a trailer park.
What are you guys laughing at?
They weren't like those. It was a trailer park.
He's from North County, so he's like, it's not the best place in California.
Dr. Drew just told us he's a dick dragger.
You're a boogie boarder?
Yeah, I'm a dick dragger.
That's what they call it, because they're dragging their dicks all over the wave. Yeah. How long did you lifeguard for?
I can't really, 2-3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest thing ever. It was the greatest. And I was, and it's so frustrating now, the shoulder and stuff like that, trying to get in, it's too dangerous now with my shoulder messed up.
Do you swim over here?
Where?
The aquatic center?
No. I don't do any more swimming. I just don't do it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So when you were younger, did you experiment with drugs?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
What was your favorite?
Pot did nothing for me.
Okay.
And I had an experience when I was in college. I was on a floor with a bunch of stoners, and they like couldn't believe that somebody didn't like pot. It was like that was astonishing to them. So they're like, no, you're doing it wrong. We're going to show you how to do it. You just smoke a lot every night as soon as you finish your homework. Okay. About 4 days into that, I started having trouble concentrating, like where I couldn't do my calculus. I remember I couldn't hold thoughts and as I was calculating, and it scared the hell out of me. I thought I've brain injured myself, you assholes, and it was not appealing. Still, no matter what, I just didn't like it. There's that. Alcohol. I liked alcohol.
Okay.
Stimulants. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you used to just rack up
I did
big
cocaine
lines.
back in the days when it was not addictive.
Oh yeah.
From 1980 to 1984 or 80.
How's
yeah,
that?
around there. It was just not addictive. That's what the whole world decided. It was not addictive.
Ah, okay.
It was the weirdest time. Read some of like the Time magazines and stuff. Oh, this is just a recreational drug for rich people, and then it started taking people out.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
mean,
smoking
Freud knew it. Freud knew it was addictive. One of his partners got taken out by it.
Huh.
Yeah.
But the lucky thing I think for me is I just don't have any addictive anything. I just don't
Right.
have that genetics.
Any psychedelics?
No.
No psychedelics.
But I would use them if I had like end of life stuff. If I had end of life dread, the research on that looks really good. Psilocybin,
Like microdosing mushrooms?
not microdosing,
Just
full on
full
dosing.
on?
Yeah,
Man, end of life dread.
yeah.
That's
Like if you had a fatal, when Scott gets pancreatic cancer, then we're gonna
Don't
have to-
say that. Don't say that. I'm going to freak out now.
We're gonna have to give him psilocybin at the end.
talk to me about end of life dread, because that seems to affect some people and not others. Is that right?
I mean, it depends on the circumstance, right? If I'm dealing with a 94-year-old, they're like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm ready. But if you have, like, if one of us were to develop a deadly cancer, that would not be cool. We would have all kinds of horrible feelings about that.
I think that there are just certain people that just feared right to the end. Like my mom, she was, terrible disabled. Her quality of life was out the window. But still, she clung on to life and really feared death right up until the end.
Yeah, see, that's a perfect person maybe to do some of this with. Because what people report is they feel more connected to something greater than themselves. They're really connected to it. And so they don't fear losing themselves into that. That makes sense.
But I always feel like I had a hard time doing psychedelics because I had a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, me too.
So
That's why and by the way, I started having panic attacks in college too, and I wonder to this day if the cannabis did that to me.
I always freaked out when I did them. But now that I've like worked the steps and I feel really good about life, I'm like, fuck, I wish
don't do hallucinations.
I wouldn't. But I'm like, man, I really wish I can do a lot of it.
Yeah, you can't.
But dying, I feel like I'd be tripping out. Like I'd have a bad trip if I ate a bunch of
Right.
mushrooms.
I remember one time Scott told me about how he's just terrified of death, and I thought, man, that's so crazy that I just don't get it. I feel like death and being dead is the one thing that you don't have to worry about. It's
Yeah,
everything leading up to it. That
I think of it more about losing life.
Well, you know what's really helped me a lot, and he's gonna laugh, but I listened to a lot of near-death experiences.
Oh yeah,
and it's just all peace and love
it's
on it.
reassuring. Yeah,
But most doctors don't like that answer of like when the patient comes back to like whatever. They don't want to hear about their near-death experience.
it's not that we don't want to hear it. It's just there is something characteristic that happens when your brain goes into that state.
So you think it's all just like a...
Because you were not dead. If you were dead, you would not be here. You had a near-death experience, and in that state, we know some interesting things happen, and the reality, of those experiences, I don't know.
What about ayahuasca? You feel pretty strongly about that.
That you shouldn't do it.
Well, I don't want any part in it.
I have talked to professionals that use plants for guiding people through trauma therapies and things who were convincing in what they were telling me and had good evidence for stuff. In the right hands, maybe, but generally the way it's being done these days worries the hell out of me.
Yeah, people say that, ayahuasca's great. You go through hell and have this terrible, hellish experience, and then you come out the other end and you've got your stuff resolved. And
That does not sound right to me. And whenever your brain has changed, I'm concerned. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because your brain has changed, and I've seen people, their personality changes and stuff. It's like your personhood changes. No, because that's I don't care if you're a better person. you're a different person, and that's screwing with somebody's
Yeah,
person.
we were in Fiji and like they wanted us to do kava kava, and we're like, oh, should we do it? Should we? And the fact that like we were talking about it, like it was like we were like, we probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I forgot about that.
Were you in recovery?
Yeah.
No. It's like Valium. Don't do it.
Yeah, but everybody was doing it and having a good time.
Yeah,
They're like,
don't
it's
do it.
natural. It's from a plant.
Oh,
We're like,
please.
well, you should do it. I should. And it's
Everything's
like,
from a plant.
yeah,
Everything you can't do is from a plant.
yeah,
Heroin's from a poppy, for Christ's sake.
right. That's true. I remember that though.
And now that you mention it, I do remember it. Yeah.
Like the fact that like we're kind of weirded out, like talking like this is not a good idea at all.
Right.
The fact that you're getting
Nervous.
wonky. Yeah. It should tell you something.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I just did this gig at a big college where they asked me to come and do a Q&A on mental health. And I showed up and I didn't think about it. I thought, well, interesting. I've never done anything like this. And when I showed up, it was like a lot of questions about addiction and stuff. And there I was kind of talking program stuff.
What school is this?
It was at Washington State University.
Fantastic. Okay.
And well, the thing was though, like right when it got done, I was doing a meet and greet with like 900 kids that showed up for it. And I had this thought creep into my head that like, man, like, you know, at the end of the day when, you know, like everything's all dried up, like, you know, like this kind of thing, it'd be cool to fall back on. And then I got terrified. Like, oh, I just had a thought of professionalizing recovery. And like, and then I was like, I never want to do anything like this again. Like, I wish I didn't even do it in the first place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think about it more as community building and not professionalizing, just sharing.
Well,
the
then
good
I
word.
can't get paid to do it. That's the thing. It's like, I mean, I do speak, you know, all kinds of places and all kinds of
Are you
situations.
having trouble doing comedy at schools or anything? Are you doing that?
I have. It's crazy because this new tour that I'm doing is so explicit. Like for an institution of higher learning to pay me to bring this filth to them is just, there's something deeply wrong with it.
Well, what
And I
was
love
it? They were like they didn't want you to bring Wendy on stage, and
Right.
and it's like you think you might have a problem with me bringing a service dog on stage, but you're allowing me to air. Have you guys seen what we're putting on there?
You know about the one where I went skydiving?
And jacked off?
Yeah, I fell out of an airplane blowing a load.
So you're gonna show videos.
Right, I mean, that's what I routinely do. It's a multimedia show that I do.
Nice.
And so they were cool with that, but bringing a service dog, some people might get offended because of PETA in the audience.
My dog Wendy. Yeah, it's a little backwards, but
Here's what drives
I
me
don't think that was the Washington State University. I think
No,
that
that
was another
was
spot.
New Jersey.
Yeah, we don't need
Here's
to
the
make a big
thing,
deal.
is that if people have anxiety or OCD or triggers and phobias, the way that's managed is with exposure.
Right.
Exposure therapy. Not withdraw the exposure and never be
Right.
around the stimulus. It's
Ooh.
getting exposed to the stimulus.
Right,
and what
we
makes you
expand
better.
our comfort zone by
Yes.
getting out of it.
Yes.
So now, like Howie Mandel with his
OCD.
notorious germaphobe.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing to be to avoid germs.
Yeah.
Right?
'Cause
Like
you can't.
I mean, when I'm doing my meet and greets after my shows, and like with like the 900,
Yeah.
you know, and I shake every hand. I'm thinking to myself, ooh, like shaking hundreds of hands all back to back is probably so good for me because I'm keeping my immune system on its toes.
There is something to what's called the sewer rat theory of immunogenicity, but wash your hands.
What tell them about when you
Right,
drink tap water?
Okay, there's this. I went on a school field trip in 8th grade. I was attending school at the American School in London. We were a very privileged school.
Yes.
You know, all
raised with a silver spoon.
I was
know.
very, very privileged upbringing, and we went on a school field trip to Egypt, like
I
for a
remember
week.
this. Yeah. You told
Yeah,
me.
and they said don't drink the tap water. Don't even let anybody put ice cubes in your soda.
Yeah.
And I watched this guy dunk his toothbrush in the Nile River and sit there brushing his teeth. And I thought, wait a second, if tap water is so bad, then what's the Nile? And here's this guy's fine. And I thought, man, that guy brushing his teeth in the Nile, if he went to England where I live and drank tap water, he might get sick from that. It's just whatever we expose ourselves to, we become
Okay.
So I thought in my mind, right there, 13 years old, 8th grade, I was like, man, probably the healthiest thing I could do is travel the entire world over and just drink tap water everywhere I go. And I went on to do precisely that. Like
You were a very lucky man.
with Wild Boys,
Yeah.
as we went to every continent except Antarctica, where I
Yeah.
presume the water's very pure.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, I'd put down my bags and I would brush my teeth. And
you didn't get any diarrhea illnesses? No diarrhea?
I mean, I did get kind of sick in Kenya, but I wouldn't attribute that to anything.
Because you can get some horrible stuff. It's good.
Like parasites.
And they would
lots
give
of
us
parasites.
malaria pills.
Yes.
And malaria pills would cause me to have like terrible nightmares.
Oh, sure.
So I would throw out the malaria pills and then
God.
use the actual bottle that came in to fill up with like Xanax.
How did you survive to this point?
I don't know.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm glad you did.
Well, so am I, man.
So you could live to have this podcast.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I hope so.
It's the best one we've ever done.
I was, I was looking at my watch truthfully to think, man, do we have like enough that we can really pare it down? To make it great.
Get it down to something good.
To make it like really great. But
You got to get into the habit of just letting it play out,
do you
bad
listen
or,
to
good or
Rogan's
bad.
podcast?
I'll pick up the clips that get
Oh, so you
broken
don't
off.
listen to the full. You sit and listen to a full podcast. Listen to Tulsi Gabbard on there.
I like that one with Jocko Willnick.
So good. Or Jordan Peterson when he talks stories are very interesting conversations.
Jordan Peterson's the super controversial dude.
He is
To some people, yeah.
it's
Is
weird
because
that
of his beliefs on transgender stuff. Is that the guy?
He says stuff that gets him in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is he really saying anything that's bad?
No, he's talking about what his experience is as a clinical psychologist. What he, he's like a scientist. And I found him years before anybody else did. He used to do this series called Maps of Meaning. And I'm always looking for guys that pull together psychology and anthropology. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what he was doing. So I got very interested in him. And then he got embroiled in this controversy where the district he was in Canada started mandating preferred gender pronouns and was essentially saying even if somebody changes their preferred pronoun every 10 minutes and you get it wrong, you've broken the law. Mm-hmm. And he took exception to that.
That's free speech.
And the reason he took exception to that is because that's, in his opinion, how things led to what was called the Gulag Archipelagos. And so then he got very political all of a sudden.
I was just like, I cracked a smile because I was thinking about like these memes where it's like 30-year-old man who identifies as a 6-year-old just broke a record in t-ball.
Yeah, those are good. Or
you.
it was like
Motorcyclist who identifies as a bicyclist just shattered the record.
yeah, those are great. I love reposting those.
I know. And
We're going through some interesting times,
It's definitely, yeah. It'll work itself out, though. It always does.
I guess.
Maybe.
It's just it feels so alien, so different.
man, I'm just glad that that I'm not the dude who was on Loveline with you in the early 2000s or mid 2000s in this day and age.
Yeah.
Yes. Not that I necessarily was ever really mean spirited or
but you could get misconstrued and you were loaded. Who knows?
Oh my God, I was.
Yeah. Me too, Steve-O.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you know what I did? I had this old tattoo of a guy humping a baby.
When?
Well, it was 2006 that I got it, and immediately I recognized how awful it was, and I blobbed out the baby.
Was it here?
And then I turned the blob into an ostrich, and then I burned it all off, and then I got him riding a motorcycle.
Oh yeah, that guy. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a real evolution.
To do that.
I know, dude. And then, but the thing was that 2017, 2018. Like all these years later, then that comes up and people are like trying to like tear me down. Like, this terrible.
For that tattoo?
Yeah. Like 13 years.
Is It's crazy how
12 years after I got the tattoo.
it's
Then
coming back
there's
now.
well, it's been a while. There was an organized, concerted effort to just ruin me over a tattoo I got a long time ago.
Isn't that weird that people have that kind of energy?
Right, and it's like, okay, like that tattoo. I mean, there's kind of a bunch of them. Oh, I became a tattoo artist.
What?
I did. I just did. I'm gonna show you my portfolio.
I think you showed me a video of you doing something to somebody at one point.
This is new. Look at this. You see with the art and then.
Oh, it's pretty good. You've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you?
I did that. Yeah, I did all these.
Whoa.
Look at that, my girl Wendy.
Wow.
And then I did this one last night on him. Jesus riding a dinosaur.
How'd you do that? Did you do that freehand?
No, you didn't create a stencil and then you put it on there.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, thanks, man. That's the other thing I'm looking at this.
Because I swear I was with you once when we did it. Like, I forget what you were doing.
I'm not even surprised that would have come up at some point.
Yeah, I can't remember where we were, what you were doing, but it was like you were writing like letters on somebody's ass or something.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Oh.
The yo mama's name, and I wasn't wearing gloves, and I came to that's what it was. And I got the idea from when that happened. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a video of just giving awful tattoos, but I'll try really hard. And it's turned into this. Just
be a
since
good
then.
tattoo
He's been wearing
artist.
gloves every time too.
Wearing gloves,
Good.
I've got doing a real apprenticeship with a super pro guy named Mike Santa Fe.
Wow. So you're into this.
Yeah, I'm into it. And as I said, I rented this to see how it feels doing a podcast, but also to see how it feels as a traveling tattoo shop.
Very good idea.
Yeah, I was sitting right in that seat there when I gave him the dinosaur tattoo last night.
Where is it?
On his thigh. That's the best spot for me to work because the skin is tight. Yeah.
We could raise money for the animal sanctuary.
Right. It's pretty exciting, man. And the way the tattooing works, you take an online class, go into like the health department, you take a test, they license you as a professional tattoo artist. But your license has to be tied to one specific shop. You can't just go rogue.
Oh.
It's like if you get a liquor license, you can only sell it in the one building.
Can this be a shop? Even though
It can be a shop,
oh my
dude.
God.
So that's like.
Can you go state to state? No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
What kind of a business license are you getting?
I don't know. We'll find out.
That's cool.
I mean, I'm just checking it out.
How many tattoos have you done
I mean, almost countless if you count over the years, like just people.
this year?
This year, I did Yo Mama's name. I did the Satanic Temple tattoo. Then I did the Tribal Tramp stamp. Then I did Buttman. Then Takashi. Then Wendy.
I like
and
that
then
Buttman could catch on.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah. Then Wendy, and then the Banana Dick, and then
Wow.
Did you
the
invent the
dinosaur.
Buttman?
No, I did not invent the
Okay,
Buttman.
alright.
No, I've done 8 tattoos this year.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's exciting. Do you want a tattoo? Do you have any?
You want one?
Not really, but if I start to go down that road, you're in.
His dad is in his 70s, getting all tatted up.
Well,
Started like 65.
It does start to as your skin ages, it does start to bug you. Like, shut put ink on it. Screw it.
Yeah.
Cover it up with ink.
He went to Japan, and he's like, he always wanted to get a tattoo, so he got one. Then he came back, and then he just went ape shit.
Got
He's
sleeves?
driving a motorcycle all over the place.
How old is he?
He was born in 44.
Wow.
So he's the same age as my dad.
Yeah.
You
44.
sound like the same guy.
Seven-
Not.
I think my dad was born in 45.
45.
Yeah.
So my dad's 75. Yeah.
Wow. Is your mom still around? Are they
Yeah.
still married?
Uh-huh. My mom works here in Pasadena for Dr. O'Toole, the plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I know him.
Yeah. See, she's been with him for like 20 years. When he was
Wow.
at Sanitation. And then I grew up in
She a
Pasadena.
nurse?
No, she just helps out with all the admin stuff.
Okay.
And then I grew up in Pasadena. Then my parents split, and my mom went to Glendora, and my dad went to Carlsbad. So
And did you go to school here? High school?
yeah, I went to Temple City High School.
You know when you said about people who think that they've got the homeless crisis figured out and you say, do you understand mental illness?
Yes.
Then shut up.
Yes.
How about the people who do understand mental illness that are actually psychiatrists just throwing medication at people?
Throwing medication?
Yeah, just
Well,
like that one guy we know.
I know. I'm not super into lots of medication, but when people have serious mental illness, they're dying on the street, it's helpful.
Okay.
It's part of the deal.
Okay.
But yes, I'm not. As you know, I like the
Right.
I like the more holistic meds where it's necessary, and then when not, get to the psychology.
But were you on like ADHD medication as a kid?
My parents wanted me to be
Same.
on it, and they tried to bring me in, and no doctor would go for it.
Good.
They were
Yeah,
like,
same.
no. They were like, we want to just drug him up.
Damn.
Like
The-
when I was crying on an airplane, like it wouldn't even happen. My mom would like feed me alcohol like as a baby.
Yeah, really?
Uh-huh.
The doctors wanted to put me on ADHD, and my mom was like, "No way."
Oh, it was the other way around for me. My parents wanted me on it. The doctors wouldn't go for it.
Oh my god.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Well, what do you think, man? Do you think that's a podcast?
I think it's a podcast. I think it's awesome.
I had a
All
good
right.
time.
Good.
Having a good time,
Hey, thank you so much, Drew.
dude. Congratulations, my privilege.
I appreciate that.
Just let this thing fly. Put it out there and let the world do with it what it will.
Man, what a great guy. And that's exactly what I'm doing, is just putting it out there. We only shaved off like 2 or 3 minutes, I think. Oh, man. And so for everybody listening still who's hung through the entire podcast, last time I said, please hit me up on Twitter. And I put a like on every single tweet where people responded to it. A lot of people said they don't have Twitter and other spaces. But here's what I want you to do. I'm so grateful to all of you. If you follow me on Instagram, go ahead and tag me in a post, like something to do with this show, and actually tag me. Don't just put my handle in the comment because I won't see that. It's where you click tag photo and put the thing, because I have a whole feed for that. And I will like every single post that, that says that you listen to the whole fucking thing. Tell me what you think. And give me any criticism that, that whatever you think I can do better. But, man, I'm just excited about this. So, dudes, like, all of you listening, watching, like, you have already made this show a hit. And, man, I can't thank you enough. So, we'll see you next week. And we're out of, like, stored up stuff. It's going to be, like, fucking Zoom, Skype, whatever. Fuck, but we're gonna get some heavy hitters, so it's on. Thank you so much, guys. Woo!